Imagine flying halfway across the world, dreaming of a heartwarming reunion with your husband after over a year apart, only to walk up to your own front door and see him standing there, holding a baby. A baby that, in the most gut-wrenching, earth-shattering twist imaginable, turned out to be his, with my very own sister. How do you even begin to process something like that? Okay, deep breath. Let me try to explain. For the past year and 4 months, I've been a project manager, working abroad. My job was intense, overseeing everything, so going home wasn't really an option for more than a few days at a time. And when I did manage to visit, it was always just to see my husband. My family, my parents, my older sister, were not exactly close, so after a few failed attempts to coordinate visits, I just stuck to my husband. But don't get me wrong, we weren't out of touch. We'd call, we'd FaceTime, which, honestly, just makes what happened next even more infuriating. Because for over a year, not a single one of them, not my husband, not my sister, not my parents, thought it was important to mention that my husband and my sister had gotten together, and oh yeah, had a baby. I found out purely by chance, last week. I was actually supposed to come home for good at the end of the month, and I was so excited to surprise my husband. I planned this whole thing, show up unannounced last weekend, and then tell him my project was almost done, and I was finally coming home for good. So, I arrived, my heart buzzing with anticipation, walked up to our house, and that's when I saw him, my husband, right there, outside our home, with a baby in his arms. My mind just blinked. A baby? Whose baby? The shock hit me like a physical blow. When I pulled up in front, he saw me, and his face? Pure panic. He started stuttering, muttering about how he hadn't been expecting me. But I didn't want pleasantries. I had this awful, sinking feeling in my gut. I looked at the baby, then at him, and just blurted out, "Whose baby is that?" He immediately tried to calm me down, saying, "Don't freak out." But it was too late. I was already freaking out internally. My husband, with a baby, outside our house. It was surreal, a scene ripped from a nightmare. After what felt like an eternity of his pointless attempts to placate me, I just snapped. I said, "Just tell me, what is going on?" And that's when he dropped the bomb. "This is my baby," he said. "And the mother? Your sister." My world just stopped. 1 second I was reeling, the next I was completely numb. My brain tried to scramble for an explanation, any explanation. He must be joking. This has to be some kind of sick, twisted prank. But he just stood there, silent, his face a mask of guilt. And I knew. Oh God, I knew it wasn't a joke. The absurdity of it all was overwhelming. It took every ounce of strength. I had to pull myself together enough to speak. My voice, when it came out, was strangely calm. I asked him, "How on earth did this happen?" He started to explain. He said he'd been lonely in the first few months I was away, felt depressed without me. And my sister, apparently, was there for him. They had offices close by, so one day he just asked her to lunch because he missed me so much. They started hanging out, became friends, and then, he said, they hooked up. A one-time thing, an accident. He was lonely. She was going through a breakup. They made a huge mistake, felt guilty, and decided to pretend it never happened. But then, a few weeks later, my sister called him. She was pregnant, and she planned to keep the baby. She refused to terminate, citing moral reasons. Funny how those morals didn't extend to sleeping with her sister's husband. My husband, for some unfathomable reason, went along with it. And that, finally, explained why my sister had practically ghosted me for months, barely returning a text. 6 weeks ago, she gave birth. And the entire time, my family knew. My parents knew. They didn't think it was important to tell me. Not a single word, for 9 months, while my sister was carrying my husband's baby. After his pathetic confession, he started apologizing, insisting it was just a one-time mistake that ended badly. He promised they'd put the baby up for adoption, that I'd never have to see or hear about it again. He'd cut my sister out of his life. But honestly, none of it mattered. I was too stunned, too hurt, too betrayed. My marriage, my life, my family as I knew it, it was all shattered. There was no way I was going back to him. Even as he spoke, I just turned away. got back in my car,
and drove.
I didn't know where I was going, just knew I had to get away. Eventually, I found myself heading towards my parents' house. And guess who was there? My sister. The air in that room was thick with tension. Their faces were an absolute picture of discomfort. They knew. They all knew I'd found out. Before I could even speak, my sister jumped in. She started rambling about getting a job out of state, about leaving us forever, about how I wouldn't have to worry about her causing problems. She echoed my husband, calling it a mistake, a one-time thing, saying it was over now. She even tried to reassure me that the baby would be taken care of, but didn't specify how. I just assumed she and my husband were on the same page about adoption. But the sheer audacity. They thought the baby was the problem, not the fact that my husband had cheated on me with my own sister. The baby was a result of the affair, not the core betrayal itself. While she was talking, I just completely ignored her. My focus was on my parents. The rage I felt was overwhelming. I started yelling, asking them how they could betray me like this, how they could help cover it up. Hiding the truth, in my book, was just another form of lying. They all lied to me. They tried to make excuses, saying it wasn't their place to say anything.
Lame. Just so incredibly lame.
I told them all, every single one of them, that they had let me down. And I wanted nothing to do with any of them anymore.
Then I left.
Without another word. I didn't go back home. I couldn't. I blocked my husband everywhere, drove to a nearby hotel. I had 3 days left before I was due back at work, but I couldn't wait. I booked a flight for the very next evening. I needed to get out. Since then, I've been drowning in this mess. I considered filing for divorce immediately, but decided to be practical. I'll be home for good at the end of the month, so I'll start the proceedings then to avoid any legal complications while I'm abroad. But in the meantime, I'm stuck dealing with my husband and sister's desperate attempts to contact me. And when I say desperate, I mean it. I've blocked them on everything, calls, texts, social media. But they keep creating new accounts, new email addresses, using different numbers. And get this, they want me to forgive them and come back home. The messages are wild. Apparently, my husband and sister finally confronted each other about the baby. See, my husband told me he wanted to put the baby up for adoption. My sister just said the baby would be taken care of. I'd assumed they were aligned. But through their relentless messages, I've discovered my sister actually expects my husband and me to adopt the baby. When she said taken care of, she meant she'd send child support, but we'd raise him. My husband, on the other hand, still wants nothing to do with either my sister or the baby. He wants to put the baby up for adoption. So now my sister is trying to convince me to play happy family. She'd planned all along to leave the baby with us once she moved away for her new job. She keeps trying to guilt-trip me, saying we share the same blood, the same DNA, so it would be wrong for me to abandon her child. It's utterly insane. My husband, meanwhile, is trying to convince me to come back, promising the baby won't be a part of our lives. My whole family is driving me crazy. My parents are constantly trying to get in touch, telling me to forgive them both because it was a mistake and they didn't mean to hurt me. They say my sister is miserable and doesn't want to give the baby up, and the only way my husband will agree to her terms is if I come back and raise the baby with him. Otherwise, he won't have anything to do with either of them. They keep trying to make me feel guilty, saying if I don't fix things, the baby, a couple of weeks old, adorable, of course, will suffer the most. I've seen him. He is cute. But that doesn't change anything. He's proof of the affair. He's proof that my husband threw away an 8-year relationship, almost 4 years of marriage, all over a few months of loneliness. I'm sorry, but I can't raise him and pretend to be his mother just because my sister wants him to stay in the family, or because we share DNA. Sharing DNA doesn't mean I have to share my husband with her. I don't think she or my parents understand any of this. They've been pressuring me relentlessly, and it started to make me feel this weird, unwarranted guilt, even though I know I shouldn't. Okay, so a couple of things I need to clarify because people always ask. First, why didn't I know about the pregnancy? Because no one told me. As I said, I didn't get to come home often. When I did, it was just to see my husband. I hadn't seen my sister in person in over 9 months, and we just stopped FaceTiming. I didn't find it suspicious, because that's just how our relationship was. Second, I had no idea what my husband and sister were planning after the baby was born. That was between them. It seems they had wildly different ideas, and now they're trying to make me the mediator, dumping all this guilt on me for something that isn't even my fault. It's just a massive, miserable mess. After reading all the comments and getting so much support, I've decided I'm going through with the divorce when I get back home. I'm just going to keep ignoring my family. Their feelings are not my responsibility. And, as harsh as it sounds, neither is the baby. I might be the baby's aunt, but I am not his mother. If my sister can't take care of him, that's on her. Of course, I hope he gets adopted into a good family. My parents were right about one thing. The baby, after me, is the one who suffers most in this situation. Honestly, it's outrageous that my sister thinks she can have her cake and eat it too. She doesn't want to raise him herself because she wants to pursue her new job and she thinks throwing money at us will be enough. But she also doesn't want to give him up for adoption so another family can have him. What is this obsession about? There are open adoptions. If she wants to stay in touch, she can find a family okay with that. Or, better yet, if family is so important, she can just raise her son herself instead of expecting me to bend over backward for her, especially after she's the one who screwed me over with my husband. I don't owe her anything. It's crazy that my parents are trying to guilt-trip me into going back to my husband just so my sister can have her way. And my husband? I don't think he understands how massively he's messed up. If he did, he wouldn't still be entertaining the thought of me coming back to him, let alone raising the child of the woman he had an affair with. He's functioning on some higher level of delusion. I've been ignoring them for weeks, but he hasn't stopped texting. Non-stop, every single hour. I can't even count how many accounts and email addresses I've blocked, but he always finds another way. The rest of the family has slowed down, thankfully. My parents and sister send one long text every other day. I guess they're finally taking the hint. But my husband? He can't come to terms with it. He thinks he can talk me into coming back. It's ridiculous. All his messages have the same tone, blaming himself, promising to make me the happiest person on earth, swearing he'll never mess up again. But that means nothing to me. He's already messed up, and I have no intention of giving him another chance. It's just sad and pathetic that he hasn't understood. No matter what he says, I'm leaving. My mind is made up. I've already started speaking to lawyers back home. In 2 weeks, when I go back, I will initiate that divorce. I'm done. It's been a couple of weeks since that last update. A few days ago, I finally wrapped up my project and came back home. The work kept me distracted, but now that it's over, the full weight of everything is hitting me. I've been dreading this, honestly, but I knew I had to do it. My husband is still sticking to his old routine, the nonstop texts. I almost admire his dedication, but yeah, I'm still getting that divorce. I've already explained everything to my attorney. The petition is ready, and we're filing it within the next 2 days. My petition is fair and simple. I keep the house and the car. No alimony. I could have gone for extreme terms, but that would just drag everything out, and I want this over quickly so I can move on. The full impact of all this is really hitting me now. Being back here, closer to my husband and family than I've been in a year, yet having absolutely nothing to do with them anymore, it hurts, more than I'd like to admit. But I have to deal with it. I haven't even told my friends yet. I know I have to, eventually. I don't know why I feel so ashamed, so embarrassed, when I'm not even the one at fault. But it just feels humiliating. I'm going to keep it quiet for a couple more days. Once the divorce petition is filed, I'll put it out on social media. I just can't bear telling people in person. So wish me luck, I guess. Yesterday, my lawyer and I filed the divorce petition. And this morning, I finally ripped off the Band-Aid. It was so hard to find the right words, but I made the announcement. After a really long relationship and marriage, my husband and I are getting a divorce due to infidelity on his part. I could have gone into all the gory details, but I didn't want the drama. I just wanted it out there. My husband was still texting, but I stopped checking his messages days ago. Before my post, he had over 600 unread messages from him. Within an hour of posting, that number doubled. I stopped blocking him ages ago because it was pointless. He'd just find another way. But it's not just him sending messages. So many friends, coworkers, even old acquaintances I haven't spoken to in ages have reached out. It feels nice to have all this support, especially when I have absolutely none from my own family. It's amazing, and more than I asked for. It won't make the divorce any easier emotionally, but at least I'll have people by my side. My friends are already promising to be there for me and have asked to meet up. It feels good to know I'm loved. It's been a few weeks now since I filed for divorce. My husband kept texting for a few days after that, and then he just stopped. Honestly, I'm so relieved. It would have just made things worse for both of us. Today, he finally responded to the petition. He's decided not to contest the divorce and has agreed to all my terms. I'm incredibly happy about this. I would have hated for him to drag it out and make an even bigger mess. I have no idea why he agreed so quickly, but I'm just glad he did. As for my sister and my parents, I've had absolutely no contact with them since I came back. And I fully intend to keep it that way. Even in their last messages, they were trying to convince me to go back to my husband just so my sister could handle the adoption process the way she wanted it. But now that I'm not going back to my husband, and he doesn't want custody of the child, she has no other option but to put him up for adoption because she's not ready to take care of her son herself. I found all this out because, apparently, before looking for adoption agencies, my sister started reaching out to everyone in our extended family, asking if they'd be willing to raise her son. I don't even know why she thought that was a normal thing to do. Obviously, most people said no. And since many had already put two and two together about my husband and my sister, some didn't even bother getting back to her. They just told me what she was trying to do. It's really sad for the baby. I truly hope he gets adopted into a great family and never has to find out what his parents are truly like. Because I'm pretty sure it would break his heart. Anyway, the bottom line is, since nobody in the family wanted to adopt her son on her terms, my husband and sister have decided to start looking for other families. For the baby's sake, I hope it all works out. Hey, everyone. It's been a couple of months since my last update, and I finally got officially divorced last week. It was all finalized so quickly, and now I can really try to move on. He did send one last email after the divorce was final. It was a long apology for everything he put me through, saying he would work on himself to be worthy of me again. And he hoped I could forgive him and give him a second chance in life if we ever meet again. It was so dramatic, honestly, I just cringed reading it. Because if I'm being truly honest, I couldn't even imagine going back to him. I don't feel like I'm in love with him anymore at all. All those feelings just evaporated during the divorce. I realized how deeply he had betrayed me. Before, I was just upset that he chose my sister out of all people in the world to cheat with. That's what hurt the most, along with my sister and parents' betrayal. It stung a lot. Until one day, it just didn't. The only thing I regret is spending so much time and energy on these people who, it turns out, weren't worth it at all. But whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. It's all in the past, and I've decided not to think about it. I know a lot of you must be wondering what happened with the adoption. While I'm not aware of all the exact details, I did hear from a couple of family members that, in the end, my sister decided against letting her baby go. She moved out of state with him. I'm not sure how much truth there is to that, but if it's true, then that's great. Good for her and the baby. Anyway, now that I've earned a decent amount of money, I'm planning on taking a really long, expensive, and luxurious vacation. I've even asked a couple of friends to join me, so I can truly take my mind off everything. A few of them have already agreed. So I'm going to be out there, having fun, and making the most of my life. Because I deserve it. This whole journey has been something else. What would you have done in my shoes? Have any of you ever faced a betrayal this deep? From your own family? Tell me what you think in the comments. I really want to know.